Okay, we are live.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Marie Rogers, and I am the Vice President of Sales and Business Development with Quest Trust Company. And it is such a pleasure to be here during our lunch break with all of you, talking about today's topic, which is strategies for retirement success worthy of a gold medal. If you can't guess by the title, then today's theme is a little bit Olympics themed. Since we're very close now to this event that I know so many of us get excited about, watching on TV and seeing your team, your country to compete. So today's theme will really be all about how investing and how the Olympics are quite similar, actually, when you think about them. Which at face value, you might think sounds a little bit unusual. How is this athletic event where so many different countries are participating? How could that be similar to investing? But it's kind of funny as we were putting together the content for this presentation. We always try to think about something a little bit different than the norm of what we teach and kind of new content for you guys. And as I was thinking about this, there's actually so many parallels between the two. At the end of the day, whether you're competing in the Olympics or whether you're trying to grow your portfolio and be a successful investor, at the end of the day, we're all trying to be the very best and go for the gold, right? Whether it's an athlete that's trying to push themselves to be the very best, or whether it's an investor who's looking to grow their wealth for the future and be their very best version of themselves in terms of their investment career. In both of these arenas, investing and competing as an Olympic athlete, one of the biggest similarities is that you have to be able to train hard for it. Certainly, you can't be competing in the Olympics without a lot of hard work, strategy, long hours of training, and really long term commitment. And the same goes for investing. There's plenty of gurus out there, or plenty of investment communities. People kind of seem to think that you can become successful overnight in real estate, and for the majority of people out there, that's generally not the case. It also takes hard work and dedication. You've got to get the knowledge and the skills, train yourself, get that expertise before you can really be successful and get those gold medal style of investments. So thanks for joining me today. This will be kind of a little bit more of a fun, light style of presentation. And we'll close it out after we talk about some of the parallels between the two with some of the investment stories that we've seen that are worthy of a gold medal. Now, believe it or not, there's only 15 days until the Olympics, really just about 2 weeks. And like I said, I already prefaced a little bit, but there's so many similarities between the two when you think about them. Obviously, the long-term commitment is the first one that comes to mind for me. In order to be successful in investing, as well as obviously if you're competing in the Olympics, it really takes a commitment to the long term. Uh, you know, for a lot of different investments, there is potential where you can perhaps have cash flow that's coming in, and that's excellent. I know that that's something that when I'm investing, or my husband and I, we're looking for something that's going to supplement our income and get that monthly or that quarterly cash flow for ourselves. But really, from a long term perspective, it's all about be able to build over a lifetime. We're thinking about investments that will make us successful, not just for today, but strategy that's going to give us that long term upward growth for our investments. Strategic planning is such a pivotal part, with investing. You really have to be able to have a strategy behind what you're doing. You have to have training and knowledge. And, I think that even the most successful investors, even the most experienced people, I think that you'll find that most of them have a similar mindset where you really have to be always looking at your strategy, going back to the drawing board and evaluating whether that is still effective, perhaps in the market that you're currently in, or that your goals are still aligned with what you're looking at. Just like athletes have schedules and diets, they also have competition strategy as well. I thought it was kind of interesting relating it back to the Olympics. I was reading online that some of the Olympic athletes, especially those, from the United States, because, we're lucky enough that in most homes, there's air conditioning, a kind of basic thing that we have in the United States. But it's kind of interesting because, going to one of the points in terms of adaptability, sometimes there's different conditions that they may have to compete in. And the Olympics is actually one of them now. So I was reading online, and I heard it in a podcast too recently, that some of the Olympic athletes were, kind of complaining about the conditions that they'd be competing in, that, it's summertime and it's hot, maybe not quite as hot as we get here in Texas, but it's still summertime and it's going to be warm conditions. And that's not something that they are used to staying in overnight in their lodging. But it goes back to investing, whether it's, the conditions that you're competing in or whether it's the market conditions, you have to be adaptable. And we see that so much right now. We've just come off the heels of the Quest Expo, where we heard so many incredible speakers talk about the shifts in the economy or the shifts in the market, and that many of them have had to become adaptable. I moderated the Airbnb, VRBO short-term, midterm rental panel at the expo. And it was really interesting because 3 out of the 4 panelists that we had at that event had spoken for us at a prior expo in 2022. And so now, hosting the event 18 months later, I was really shocked at how adaptable that they've had to be, because for many of them, their bread and butter of investing were these short-term rentals, vacation rentals, and they were really at their peak at that time. And since then, through zoning laws or changes in the market or changes in real estate, they've had to adapt and perhaps pivot to having them be midterm rentals, a little bit of a longer term strategy, or make them more traditional, tenant landlord, long-term rentals. So at the end of the day, you also have to be thinking about how in your strategy will you be adaptable to those shifts that take place. In terms of risk reward, athletes are really risking potential injury for the hope of personal investment. I think back to, the prior Olympics when Simone Biles pulled out, and she was saying that, mentally, physically, she was just not in kind of that headspace to be prepared to compete. And so she ended up pulling out. And I think that you can apply that in so many ways to investing. You have to always be evaluating the risk versus the reward of the investments that you're pursuing. And at the end of the day, self-directed IRAs are such a popular style of an investment vehicle now. But one of the key things that you have to learn is that you have to be able to evaluate your deal, to do your due diligence, and be able to evaluate if this makes sense for you. Being a successful self-directed IRA investor means that you have to have that entrepreneurial spirit. You have to be willing to go out there and find your own investments, or at least find an investment sponsor that you feel comfortable, that you've evaluated the risk, and that you think that it's worth pursuing. So at the end of the day, investors are risking their capital. But if you're doing that in a strategic manner, if you're doing due diligence and you're evaluating properly or with the help of a professional, then you can certainly have that great financial gain. And lastly is nobody gets there completely by themselves. I know that throughout my career, throughout my investment career, I certainly had many mentors, people that I've looked to for expert guidance. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in most cases. There are people that can give you that coaching or training or that professional insight, whether that's a CPA or whether that's an attorney. You always want to be able to seek help from a professional and get that expert guidance so that you're equipped for the best chance of success in your investing. My name again is Anne Marie Rogers. As I said, am the VP of Sales and Business Development with Quest. I've been with the company since 2013, and my background is in the self-directed investing piece. I hold a couple of designations, including CISP and SDIP. and oversee the sales, marketing, and business development that we do with Quest. But a huge component of my job is doing exactly what we're here today doing, which is going around and speaking across the country as a subject matter expert on self-directed IRAs. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I have seen the incredible success of so many of our clients, so many of our staff. And it has motivated me since a very young age to get involved. I've really kind of caught the bug, and so love to invest. My husband and I invest in our accounts here with Quest, and outside of our accounts as well. Mostly doing passive investments. We like to do some private lending. We've done some note investing. We really like passive style of investments because that's a fit for our lifestyle. That's really the beauty of self-directed IRAs is it's not a one size fits all. Dependent on what your goals are or dependent on what you are looking to invest into and pour time into. There's really something for everyone. As I said, we just came off the expo, and there's so many people there that are, they're landlords. They are in there with their tenants and they're managing the properties, and they're doing that. And then for so many others, maybe they're investing more passively, like we are, into a fund or doing some private lending or syndication or something like that. Like I said, it's really not a one size fits all. So you don't have to choose one or the other. There's so much opportunity just depending on what your personal goals are and how much time that you have to pour into it as well. For us, we would love to get involved in real estate, but it's just really not a fit for our lifestyle right now. My husband and I both travel pretty significantly for work. I have a business. We do our own style of investing, and we have a young son who's almost 2 years old. So, safe to say that we're pretty busy on the weekends. And so having a very active role in real estate just doesn't align with our lifestyle right now. But that doesn't mean that we can't get involved and be really successful and grow wealth and be successful investors with our self-directed IRAs. And so that's why I always encourage people to come to these webinars that we do, because it really gives you an idea of so many different potential investments that are out there, whether you want to be on the active side or whether you want to be a little bit more on the passive side. And then lastly, I'm a graduate of St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. Quest Trust Company, we are based nationwide. There are offices in Houston, Texas. We have been in business for 21 years and currently have $3 billion under administration. If you're brand new and wondering what exactly a self-directed IRA is, we always like to say that it's really no different than the account that you probably already have. When you read about, if you were to go on Google and you were to try to find, IRS language that talked about a self-directed IRA, I think you'd find that you would really come up short. And the reason is that self-direction is often really just a marketing term. And it's kind of funny, I told this story. I was giving a speech at Invest HerCon a couple months back now. And, it was funny because I told a story about how my mom had called me on the phone and she was like, "You won't believe it, but we got a pamphlet in the mail from," I can't remember. I think it was Fidelity or Charles Schwab or, one of the large companies that also do retirement accounts, of course, and investing. And she was like, "They're doing what you guys do. They have a self-directed IRA," and kind of laughed about it because, well, thanks. First of all, thanks for looking out to my mom. But, it's interesting because the term self-directed IRA has really gained a lot of traction. And so there's some misconception about what exactly it is. But, the reality is that IRAs are pretty standard no matter what company that you go to. Now, there's different types of IRAs, and we'll get to that, right? There's traditional IRAs or Roth IRAs or SEP IRAs and so on and so forth. But a traditional IRA at one company is the identical account at the other company. Really, the difference is in what the companies allow you to invest into. So, at a company like a Fidelity, for example, or insert whatever company you might be with, you may have the ability to quote unquote self direct and choose your investments. But your investment choices are all publicly traded. It's stocks, it's mutual funds, it's CDs, it's bonds, it's kind of all the traditional publicly traded things that most of us are used to. The other side of the coin is what we're doing at Quest Trust Company. We offer the same type of investment vehicle, the same type of retirement account, except that you have the ability to invest in alternatives, private assets, things like real estate, things like private companies, syndications, note investing, and so much more. Now, there's lots and lots of things that you can do, and I've named just a few of them. But some common examples of things that I see in terms of real estate, we see people doing, as I've mentioned several times, rental properties. We see fix and flips. People invest in land. That's a common one. Tax liens. We see things like subject to deals, commercial deals, foreign property, all kinds of things. In terms of lending, you can invest into all different types of note deals, do some private lending to a company, so on and so forth. And then in terms of private entities, we see a lot of syndications in the space, things like multifamily investments, apartment complexes, self-storage, car washes, joint ventures of all different types, and then everything in between. That's, again, really the incredible thing about self-directed IRAs is that almost sky's the limit. Almost any alternative investment that you could think of, you probably have the capability to do in this type of account. And the whole reason why you'd want to pursue these types of investments in this account versus outside with your personal money is that your returns are all going to be growing tax deferred or potentially even tax free. Now, I'll pause there and draw your attention to what's underneath at the bottom. What you're reading here, that Quest Trust Company for the benefit of your name and your account number, is actually how the investment is going to be titled. So, what I mean by that is the owner of the investment. I did a consultation with a prospective client the other day, and they were like, okay, so I'm borrowing money from my IRA to buy this deal, and then I'll have to pay my IRA back. And I, paused there because that's such a common thing that we hear. People have this idea that they're essentially borrowing money from their IRA to go out and invest with. But you have to think about it in a different format. You're not borrowing money from the IRA. You want to think about it that your IRA is just like you. Just like you can buy an investment, so can your IRA. You're not personally borrowing money from your IRA. Instead, you're actually directing your retirement account to purchase this investment. So it owns the investment, it pays for the expenses for the investment, and it receives the profit from the investment. So putting it in a really basic example, if you were going to buy a residential property, you don't take the money and borrow it from the IRA. No, instead, the IRA actually buys that property. So the buyer's name on the contract, on title, is Quest Trust Company for the benefit of your name and your account number. So it's your IRA as the owner of the investment. And all the profits flow back into the account. And of course, you get these great tax advantages. There's lots of different account options that you would have broken down into retirement accounts and specialty accounts. Retirement accounts, things like traditionals, Roths, SEP, Simples. And then in specialty accounts, we have our health savings account and education savings account. Often people will come to us at Quest because they're interested in perhaps a traditional or a Roth IRA, and then they'll realize that there's so many other opportunities out there. I know health savings accounts, education accounts are really excellent options if you're looking to pay for your healthcare expenses or your children's education expenses completely tax-free. So there's lots and lots of different opportunities that are available in terms of investments, but equally there's lots and lots of different opportunities in terms of your account structure. So it's an excellent idea to sit down with one of our certified IRA specialists. We do totally free consultations. It's very no strings attached. It's a casual conversation about your personal accounts that you already have or may be interested in having in the future if you don't already have a retirement account. And what are your investment goals? What are you hoping to invest into? And we can really equip you with the knowledge to be successful with these types of accounts. So, for you, if you're looking to save for retirement, then we can talk about retirement planning. We can talk about the different vehicles that might be a good fit for you. And then you can review that with your CPA or your tax professional to explore that more in depth. If you're looking to save for your children's college, then we can talk about that. Or if healthcare costs and the rising cost of health savings is something on your mind and you're trying to think about how you can put away a nest egg for future healthcare costs, then we can talk about that in that consultation as well. Now, let's dive into the fun part, which are the real self-directed IRA case studies. Of course, being Olympic themed, we ordered them in terms of bronze, silver, and gold. So let's start off with the bronze, which is a private money lending or passive style of investment. This was actually an investment that my husband and I did most recently. So we know an investor who wanted to purchase land in Silsbee, Texas, which you've probably never heard of because we hadn't either. But it's a really small town, rural kind of teeny tiny town, about maybe 20 to 30 minutes outside of Beaumont, Texas, which is about 2 hours outside of Houston or so. Now, I've known this investor for quite some time, and we've invested together multiple times. So, if you're wondering about, due diligence and how we found this person and protecting ourselves, we already had that continuity of knowing them and had already gone through that process in terms of our due diligence. We borrowed. I'm sorry, he was looking to borrow 105,000. And so we privately negotiated the terms of that. It's going to be a pretty short-term deal. He was going to be buying this land in Silsbee, was looking to be able to potentially sell it. So we privately negotiated a 10% interest. It's a 2-year deal, and it is maturing at midway through October of this year. So we had some money that was freeing up from some of our investments, but we didn't have the full 105 available at that time to pursue the investment. We're kind of the mindset that we like to hedge our bets a little bit. We never like to put too much into any one deal. We like to put a piece here, a piece there, a piece there. That's just, kind of what lets us sleep better at night. And really, it lets us get a lot of irons in the fire where we can get involved in maybe this private lending deal. We can get involved in this note deal. We can do this piece of real estate deal and really have a lot of different options out there. So, God forbid that one goes wrong, right? We don't have such a incredible amount of money that's out there that, we stand to lose. That's just a strategy that we like to deploy. Certainly everyone is different, and I've seen people be successful with totally different mindsets. But we love to invest with our friends and our family and kind of get people involved. I'm really lucky to have worked at Quest for 11 years and have so many people that I like to invest alongside. And so my husband and I both partnered our retirement accounts and some of our personal money alongside some of our friends. So couple number one, which was us, and my husband's IRA and my IRA put money in the deal. Our two of our friends, another couple, they put some money in the deal from one of their IRAs and some of their personal money. And then we had a couple other friends who put money into the deal as well. This is a real picture of the property taken on our phone on the right side. You can see, like I said, it's really rural. It was a big piece of land. It's got trees all on it. They're looking to sell it if they needed to. They were going to, get rid of the trees on there, and they could even sell it like piece by piece if, someone wanted to purchase a property or maybe a developer. But really the long-term goal was hopefully to be able to sell it to somebody that would be probably doing more like a commercial type of investment or build on there. Because you can see on the left side picture where it kind of shows that red box, you can see that it's along a long highway there. And so this shows you some photos from our due diligence trip. Even though we'd already invested with this investor, it's always a good idea to do due diligence. You might enhance that depending on who you're investing with or how much you know them or know their track record, but you always want to do due diligence. I think it's something that people probably don't talk about enough. We're always of the mindset that we want to think about what's the worst case scenario that could happen, so that we're prepared. We think through the worst case scenario, we kind of make a rough game plan for the what ifs, and then we dive into it and we hope for the best, kind of a calculated risk. And so when we drove down there and we did our due diligence visit, we drove along that highway that I showed you in that picture. And this is some of the examples of the businesses that are along that highway. There was several gas stations. There was a small like liquor store, convenience store, Dollar General. So, it was starting to get built up around there. While it's rural, there's development happening. And certainly in Beaumont, that's a popular area for investing. There's a lot of activity out there. So, we felt, again, from a little bit of a long-term perspective, that this would be a good deal for us. If you're wondering why there's a little pig on the bottom, just a prompt for me to tell you guys kind of a funny story. So, we go down there and it's pretty early in the morning. We drive down to Silsbee and we're kind of cruising around. We've probably driven by like 3 or 4 times, going all around the property and up and down on the highway. And, we pull back to the property and we park the car, and my husband and I are just sitting there and we're having a conversation. And I guess one of the neighbors had noticed us, who was across the street from this land. And he came out and he had his kids, and he actually came over and was like, "Hey, can I help you guys?" Probably was wondering, why are these people circling around and around in our neighborhood? Probably looked a bit suspicious. But we got to talking to him, and he was a really nice guy, and met him and met his family. And I mean, I'm telling you, this was a really rural area. On his porch was the biggest pig that I have ever seen, real pig, that was taking a nap. And I can't for the life of me remember what the name of this pig was. I was probably about like 7 months pregnant at the time, so probably had that forgetful pregnancy brain. But we like met the pig, like the whole 9 yards. So on our due diligence trip, we definitely looked around, we checked it all out, we met the neighbors, we asked them about it, because it's always a good rule of thumb to kind of educate yourself on what you're investing in, especially if you're doing private money lending. The worst case scenario is that the person that borrowed your funds doesn't pay you back. If they don't pay you back, your recourse, granted, obviously, this is a secured loan, is that we would have taken ownership of that land. So we wanted to know what the land looked like. We wanted to know what the area was like, the potential out there, should we have to take ownership of that land. Obviously, that hasn't happened. It's been a successful investment and it's about to mature. We've all been really happy with it. But, just kind of goes to show you, doesn't have to be this crazy, attractive, sexy, real estate glitz and glam like you might see on TV. I was watching this show last night. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a guy that's become super successful investing in New York and these crazy like penthouse, properties there. A lot of times people think about real estate investing and they think about something like that, but it doesn't have to be this incredibly attractive, property. You can be really successful with just kind of your everyday piece of land in a little tiny rural town too. So these are the monthly payments that shows you. Basically, we get that passive mailbox money every single month. So these are how the payouts go back. And in this instance, Quest really makes it so easy for us, because when the funds come back, for the IRA pieces, they'll split them in accordance with the ownership percentages. We don't have to do anything. We're able to just track it all online. So a really, really good deal. This is the kind of deal that we like to do. We do a lot more legwork on the upfront. We find a deal. We do the due diligence. We work with our attorney to draft all the documents, and then we kind of let it ride. That's the kind of deals that I like to do because, again, that aligns with our lifestyle and our goals. But what about if you're someone that wants to be a little bit more active? Maybe you've got the time and you've got the interest. Then maybe something in real estate is a better fit for you. So let's talk about the silver property. So, um, James wanted to use his IRA to buy a property. James, our client, was planning to fix up the property. He wanted to collect some rental income until long term. Really, his strategy was to be able to sell the property. The vision was never to have this be a very, very long term, hold on the property. So he ended up buying it in 2018 for 100,000. This is a real picture of the property. Again, a small property in a little bit of a smaller town, but a very successful deal. So once again, the property would be owned by the IRA. So Quest, for the benefit of the client name, the client account number, is the actual owner of the property. And so because the IRA is the owner of the property, it is also going to pay for any expenses. So, what are some examples for buy and hold real estate? Well, you might have to pay property taxes or insurance, perhaps HOA, depending on the property, maybe some fix ups. Maybe it needs a little bit of love and it needs, some paint or fixing up the kitchen or the floors or, you name it. Those sorts of expenses are also going to come from the IRA. And then equally, as you start generating cash flow or long term, if you sell it and you reap that appreciation, then that goes back into the account. And that is where the advantage comes, is that money comes back into the account from whatever strategy it is that you've used for your investment, and it's coming back in tax free. So for James's investment, for 5 years, he collected monthly rental income from the family that lived in this property of 2,100 per month. And he did that for 5 years, coming in at 126,000 totally tax free to his IRA. So he invested $100,000 and he made in rental income 126,000 over those 5 years. Well, 5 years later, in the end, he decided to actually sell the property. He initially invested 100,000 plus he rehabbed it for about 35K. So a total of 135,000 was James's investment, all coming from his retirement account. And then over the course of the 5 years, he got 126,000 back in rental income. And when he sold the property, his sale reaped him 56,000. So in the end, he made a total tax-free gain to his IRA of 182,304. A pretty good deal. And last but not least, our gold is investing into a private company. So an investor had a 401k from a prior job, had about 100,000 in there. He had an oil and gas investment that he was interested in pursuing. This was a private company investment. And so he invested 100,000 in there for a 3-year term, receiving 12% annually. This one's a little bit different because rather than collecting monthly income, from interest payments or collecting rental income from a property, he was essentially getting dividends from this private company. And so he was able to collect a quarterly dividend of $3,000 from his investment. So at the end of that 3-year period, he would make the 36,000 in profit completely tax free. So a really excellent deal, and is able to rinse and repeat. So if you're wondering what it takes to be a successful real estate investor or successful alternative asset investor in general with a self-directed IRA, it really takes the knowledge, the disciplined execution, and of course, the long-term perspective. For what's next, don't forget that we do these classes typically on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Central. This was an exception since we're in Houston, just coming off the heels of a hurricane. So for those of you that are tuning in from the Houston area, thanks so much. Hope you guys have had an okay week with some of the crazy weather and power outages and whatnot that we've had. We also do these every Saturday at noon, where we typically bring in outside speakers to talk about all the different investment opportunities that are out there. Now, in order to get in touch with us and do that free consultation with our team that I mentioned, you'll want to take out your phone. open up your camera and scan the QR code, and you can schedule a free consultation with one of our certified IRA specialists. You can also reach us by emailing us directly at iraspecialists@questtrust.com, by calling us, or we actually have a live chat feature that is really popular on our website. It is not just like a customer service agent or a bot. It's a real person. It's our real IRA specialists that are on the line chatting with you. So if you ever have a quick question, if you're, watching back a video, or you are reading one of the great blog posts that we produce here at Quest, you can actually, if you have a burning question, just chat to us live during business hours, Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But we would love to meet with all of you to talk about your personal situation and how we can help you be a successful gold medal winning investor. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It has been a pleasure being here with all of you for this short class. I hope to see you all online on Saturday for our next edition. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.